Okay, we have our X and Y axis, but they're labeled a little bit differently. The x-axis is all of our real numbers, and the y-axis is going to be the imaginary part of the number. So what we have to do is we take the real part and we find it on there, and then we move down the imaginary part. So we're going to do this one together. Number A, or part A, we want to plot 3 minus 2i. So we go, the real part is what?
3.
The 3. 3 is the real part. So we're going to go along the real axis, positive 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3. Now don't put a point there. We're not done yet. What's my imaginary part? Negative 2i. So we're going to move down 2 spaces. 1, 2. And we're going to put a point there. Okay? So you know how when we usually graph, we have x, comma, y? It's very similar in this case. We look at our real, and then we look at our imaginary. And it's that's our point. So this would be A. Okay? So let's try B. Negative 2 plus 4i. What's the real part? Negative 2. So we're going to go along the real axis, negative 2. And then my imaginary part is positive 4i. So we're going to go up along the I-axis 4 spaces. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's where we put our point. And that's B. Make sense? Okay, let's look at C. 3i. Is there a real part there? No, so we're not going to move anywhere along the real axis. So then, what am I going to do? I'm going to go up to 3 along the I. So that's it. Okay. What about D?
5.
D is just 5. So I'm only moving along the real axis, and I'm going to the right 5 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's no imaginary part, so I'm done. Okay. So try plotting E by yourself. Okay, Viviana, so where does E go?
Left, negative 7.
Left 3, 1, 2, 3.
And then you go down.
And I go down also 3, right? So E is right there. That's all you have to do. It's just plotting points. Okay, so that's plotting. Next part we need to look at is what if we are adding and subtracting with fractions. This is going to take a couple steps here. First of all, I want to add or subtract here, and can I? Why? Because they have a common denominator. So what do? 3 plus 4 gives me 7, and I keep that denominator. So over 1 plus 4i. Am I done? No. Why not? It's not in standard form, and there's I in the denominator. So I need to multiply by the conjugate, 1 minus 4i. So that's going to give me, in the numerator, 7 times 1 minus 4i, all over 1 plus 4i times 1 minus 4i. Now the numerator is easy. We just distribute. So that's going to give me 7 minus 28i all over. We FOIL these things. 1 minus 4i plus 4i minus 16i squared. So the numerator stays the same, 7 minus 28i. These guys are going to cancel, and I'm left with 1 minus 16. I squared turns into what? negative 1. So that's going to give me 7 minus 28i all over 1 plus 16. So what does that give me? 7 minus 28i all over 17. Is that completely finished yet? No, we split it up. So we would get 7 over 17 minus 28i over 17. So now we're combining it all together, the addition and subtraction and multiplication and division. Okay? Finally, the last thing with I is we have what's called patterns with I. Now what we're doing when we're looking at patterns with I is we're looking at our exponent. So we have I to the 7. Let's expand this out just to practice and see what happens. So how would I to the 7 expand? I times I, that's 4, 5, 6, 7, right? Okay, when I have an I times I, what happens? That becomes I squared. So how many I squareds do I have? 3. So I have I squared times I squared times I squared times I. What do I know about I squared? It's negative 1. So this would be negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1 times I. Negative 1 times negative 1. Positive 1 times negative 1 times I. Positive 1 times negative 1. Negative 1. So that would be negative 1 times I. And what's negative 1 times I? Negative I. Good. Okay. So we get negative I. Do you think that's going to happen every single time I had odd exponent?
No. Yeah.
Every time I have an odd exponent, we're going to end up with negative 1i, or negative I. What about an even exponent? Positive 1. Yep.